Hello, thank you for joining us and welcome to another episode of 8 Minutes with Activ8. In today's episode, we are joined by Alex Wyatt from Simply VAT to discuss the upcoming changes that Amazon sellers will be facing from 1st of January 2021 to the end of the Brexit transition. Alex, thank you for joining us today. Our first question is really, what options do e-commerce sellers have when selling from the UK to the EU post-Brexit?
Okay, so after Brexit happens, there is going to be a hard customs border between the UK and the EU. So what this means is that sellers are going to have to really think about how they're importing their goods and what sort of Incoterms that they're going to be using on their import documents. So option number one would be importing under DDP Incoterms. So this means that the seller is actually going to be the importer of record. And the importer of record is the person who accounts for any import VAT and duties upon importation of the goods into the EU. So in being the importer of record, the seller should technically be VAT registered in each country that they want to be the importer of record, and that would allow them to reclaim their import VAT on their VAT return. But they would also have to charge the local rate of VAT on their sales. So that's just something to be aware about. There might be a little bit of extra administration that they have to do. However, it could mean a better customer experience for your end consumers who are purchasing the goods. They won't see any import VAT or duties being charged to them. There shouldn't be any delays going through customs. So the goods would essentially just go straight through them as normal right now. And they're still going to be charging, or you're going to be charging the local rate of VAT on the goods. So essentially, it's a lot easier to ship in under DDP Incoterms. And actually, Amazon requires their sellers to be sending their goods in under DDP Incoterms. So just be aware that that does trigger this additional VAT obligation, but it could mean extra, customers and extra sales going through after Brexit. The second option for businesses is that they can deliver under DAP Incoterms, and this is where they make the customer the importer of record. So when you're making the customer the importer of record, just like I said before, they are going to be paying the import duties and taxes upon the goods being imported into the EU. If you're going to choose this as a method for sending all of your goods after Brexit, that's absolutely fine, but it's best just to make sure that you're communicating this throughout the customer journey so that the customers aren't getting stuck with all these extra bills or delays going through customs when they really weren't expecting it. So make sure that you're communicating that. Otherwise, you could see an increase in returns or goods being sent back, which then is kind of a false economy to be sending your goods that way, because you just won't be making as many sales or won't be able to compete with other businesses that might be shipping under DDP Incoterms. One of the really useful things to note, though, is that if your products are selling with a consignment value of less than 22 euros, up until the new EU VAT reform in July 2021, you can use what's called the low value consignment relief threshold. And this threshold allows goods to go into the EU without any import VAT and duties. So if you're selling goods under that threshold, and again, that's a whole consignment value, then you can import them in under the low value consignment relief threshold. And I would advise that you put them in under DAP Incoterms so that the goods can go through and there's no import duties and taxes charged to any customers. So it's quite a smooth kind of transaction. And then finally, the third option that you have, which is highly recommended as well, is that you can actually move your stock into an EU country. So you can move your stock into one country, whether that be France or Germany or wherever your customers are. And once your goods are in the EU country, you can use the EU distance selling rules to sell cross-border to EU private individuals. So this means that you only need one VAT registration until you cross those distance selling thresholds. This significantly lowers the cost of compliance for your business, and it allows you to reclaim import VAT in that one EU country, charge just one rate of VAT, and it can really streamline, your supply chain as well. So it's something to think about if that is an option to your business, is moving goods into the EU. But if not, then have a look at the other ways to import, whether it's under DDP, Incoterms, or DAP, and make sure that you're communicating this with your end customers so they're super clear on how the goods are getting to them.
And what are the steps that sellers can take to ensure that they can move their goods without impeding their business?
There's a few different steps that we've kind of laid out for our clients. The first thing that you can really do as a seller to make sure that you are getting your goods through customs borders after the EU transition period ends is getting an EU EORI number. And the EORI number stands for Economic Operations Registration and Identification Number. And that number goes on your import documents, which allows you to reclaim any of your import VAT, and it identifies you as the importer. So you'll need this EU EORI number if you're importing in under DDP Incoterms. You're technically supposed to apply for the EORI number in the first port of entry. So if you know where you're going to be importing in first place straight after January 1st, then you should be getting an EU EORI number registration in that country. And if you need assistance, then that's something that we can help. EORI number registration portal on our website, and we're able to help get the registration going for you. Secondly, it is best to review your supply chain. So if you are, especially if you're purchasing goods throughout the EU, for example, you will want to make sure that if you're purchasing goods in the EU and moving them to the UK and sending them back to the EU, you're going to be hit with import duties and taxes going into the UK, and then when you're sending your goods off into the EU again, you're going to be hit again with import duties and taxes. If you're VAT registered in those countries, you can always reclaim your import VAT, but you can't reclaim the duties. So it's important to kind of either factor that into your margins when you're listing your prices, or think of alternative supply chain streams to get your goods to the customers, so that you know that that you're not going to be kind of impacting your margins or having to raise your price to account for these extra costs. Third would be determining your tariffs. So those duties that I talked about, at the moment we do not have a trade deal within the EU. So without having a trade deal, that means we don't actually know if we're going to have a deduction in tariffs. So at the moment, we will be trading under WTO rules, which means that any tariffs that are currently listed under the WTO rules, that will apply to your business when importing into the EU. So you need to consider these tariffs when you are, again, setting your prices or thinking about importing into the EU after Brexit, because these won't be reclaimable. If we do get a trade deal, then this, again, the tariffs may change. So you'll have to be looking at those commodity codes and what applies to your individual products after we get a trade deal, once that's in place. Next, you're going to want to keep records for a minimum of 4 years. This is because if a EU country or even your local country actually audits you, has a EU VAT audit or a tax audit on your business, you will need to have proof of export or import into the countries to actually prove that you can reclaim your import VAT and that you've done it correctly, or that proof that you've actually exported goods outside of the UK and that you don't actually owe any VAT in the UK. So this is really important to keep a hold of these documents for a minimum of 4 years. So make sure you're keeping them digitally just in case anything else happens to them. And lastly, plan for delays, because there could be many delays going into and out of the UK. So if your customers are expecting goods to come overnight at the moment, well, make sure that you have communicated with them that there could be those extra delays, especially over the first few weeks of January when all the customs borders are going to have to be changing their processes. There's going to be a lot more checks going through and delays on getting the goods and sorting through the documents. So make sure that you have planned for this, and if you can, move goods into the EU before the end of the transition period. But if you can't, make sure that it's super clear to your customers.
And what are some of the main changes that sellers can expect to see to their Amazon FBA?
So especially here in the UK, when you're selling to UK customers, after Brexit, there's going to be changes that marketplaces apply to the sellers. So if you are importing goods with a consignment value of less than £135 and they're going directly to customers in the UK, Amazon is going to be responsible for these sales. There is no longer going to be a low value consignment relief threshold of £15 in the UK, and it's going to be replaced by this £135 threshold. If you're selling on a marketplace, again, the marketplace is going to be liable for that. Additionally, if you're holding products within a UK fulfillment center or a warehouse, and you're selling to UK customers, and you're not a local UK business, Amazon again is going to be liable to collect the sales tax on these products. Now, the products with a gross price, so including VAT, and Amazon will then deduct the VAT before they give all the rest of the funds over to you. So this is something to consider when listing those prices. Make sure that you've taken into account the different VAT rates that apply to your products, so that when Amazon takes the actual VAT that they have to collect, that it's not eating into your profit margins. Additionally, if you are holding stock in a UK country or in the UK as a whole, you have to make sure that you are VAT registered. And this is because you're going to want to reclaim your import VAT, as well as you need to document the sales made on Amazon, but they're going to be exempt of VAT, but you still need to document them on your VAT return. So this doesn't mean, even though Amazon is collecting the VAT on your behalf, it doesn't mean that you as a seller don't have obligations to report these sales. So make sure you are still keeping up to date with your UK VAT returns and making sure that you've set the correct prices for your products, including VAT.
That's great. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today. It has been great to have you on our series.
Thanks so much for having me.